for everybody being here. In a few hours, we're going to vote to overturn the Veterans Affairs Department's new abortion policy. We're going to vote to overturn it because it's illegal, it's wrong, and it's abuse of the taxpayer dollars. In September, the VA announced they were going to start performing abortions. Now, let me say this. The VA has never performed abortions. Never have they performed abortions until now. Under Roe Wade, the VA never even mentioned it. In other words, this has nothing to do with the Dobbs decision. This is not about Roe Wade. The administration is using Dobbs as an excuse. So it's got nothing to do with it. We're going to stand up for this policy for 3 reasons. Number one, it's illegal. Congress banned abortion in the VA 30 years ago, and it was unanimous. One of the senators who voted for the bill was President Joe Biden. We have never repealed this law. 30 years, we've never repealed it. Still on the books, and the administration needs to follow the law. This administration doesn't get to change the law just because they feel like it. There's got to be a vote here in this building. Number 2, this is about taxpayer dollars. The administration is spending money Congress has never authorized or appropriated. We're supposed to appropriate the money spent, and it has not gone through appropriation. There has been a bipartisan consensus for 40 years that we should not spend taxpayer dollars on abortion. 40 years. No taxpayer dollars. Many of these senators that are complaining about my resolution voted for the Hyde Amendment. Many of them. And several times they've done that. This new policy is a violation of the law. It's a slap in the face of people who don't want to pay for abortions. And that's the majority of the people in this country. If you took a poll, majority of these people that would vote in this poll would say, we do not want to spend taxpayer dollars for abortion. Number 3, this is an attack on doctors and nurses who have moral objections. After the VA issued this rule, a nurse has already sued the VA for trying to force her to participate in an abortion. And in January, the department effectively admitted that there were no moral protections in this new policy that they pushed forward. The department created an opt-out form after this. Doctors and nurses have to fill out this form to defend their personal beliefs about doing an abortion. If that's not enough, we've got a lot of Christian doctors and nurses across this country that now are afraid that they're going to be fired from the VA because of opting out. We do not need to eliminate good doctors and nurses from the VA. We're having a tough enough problem as it is. We want to attract people to the VA, not run them off. So again, this is not about Dobbs. This is not about Roe Wade. This is about an illegal rule to spend taxpayer dollars on abortion. And my co-sponsor here, Senator Joe Manchin, I'd like for him to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Senator Tuberville, and I appreciate your leadership on this, and it's something that I agree with, and I think everything that you've said is something I agree with also. Since 1976, there's been a bipartisan consensus on the Hyde Amendment. When you think about abortion, it's in the political arena, and it shouldn't be. It's a personal decision. People are very, very either their own beliefs, their convictions, whether it's their own personal convictions or their religious convictions. The Hyde Amendment was that protection. It was that buffering, that we weren't forcing your dollars to be used for an abortion that you deeply, deeply disbelieved in. So with that, that's been the law for quite some time. If this is to be changed, it should be voted upon. If the legislation that the President wants to do in this administration, then bring it before a piece of legislation. Let's go through the process. To me, that would be the proper way to do it. And see if the public supports that and supports those of us who represent our public in what decisions we make. I've been very, very adamant about that. I said, I've always been supportive of how we've handled the last 50 years of precedented law, and things have changed. The court system got involved, and now it's for the legislation and Congress to become involved if they want to. But you just can't arbitrarily do what they're doing by making a decision, executive decision, and saying this is the new law that we'll be living by. And with that, you're disrupting the whole operation of the VA, who is responsible for the services that are needed for our veterans who bravely have fought for us and defended us. And I think for them to have a quality system that works for their best care is what we should be concerned about. I'm the only Democrat to join the resolution, as you know. But with that, I believe there's other people that feel the same as I do, just haven't spoken out on this. I'm always willing to fight to maintain these common sense protections, but the Hyde Amendment is something that you're just drawing and going over the line when you're trying to eliminate a piece of law that has been truly a law. It wasn't precedented. It has been voted upon, and it is the law of the land. So I'm encouraging this administration to follow the law, to basically put a piece of legislation. If they want VA to be that lead, then put the piece of legislation and see where it goes. But until then, I think that we all have a responsibility to make sure that we adhere to the pieces of legislation that we passed, and then those of us who believe in it can defend it, and those who want to change it can defend that too. So I thank you, Senator Tuberville, for what you've done and basically taking a lead here. I look forward to voting with you today, and then we'll see what happens from there. Thank you all. Now to Senator Manchin.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, I can't tell you how honored and proud I am to be up here with these two gentlemen. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate my friendship with Coach Tuberville, with Senator Tuberville, and his leadership, standing up and doing the right thing. Senator Manchin, I've admired you for years. We've had a relationship now for 6 or 7 years. And I remember leadership, some of the traits of a leader is doing the right thing, even if it wasn't popular. And in your caucuses might be popular, but you've always went with your heart on every decision and always standing up for what you think is right. My assessment of the situation is that the Biden administration is exploiting our veterans and service members to pursue their own radical abortion agenda. Our veterans deserve better than this. They should not be treated like pawns. I'd like to speak from my heart and some of my personal experiences. As a third-year medical student in Wichita, Kansas, my first rotation, clinical rotation, was at the Robert J. Dole VA. It's there where I learned to draw blood. It's there when I learned that if a veteran had bottles of Aquavelva next to him, that there was a concern with why that was set in there. I learned so much at the VA, but I learned a lot about the nurses and the quality of the people that worked there. You know, later as a resident, I got to work in VAs as well as an obstetrician and gynecologist. What I learned very quickly is, you're judged by the company that you keep. That's certainly something my dad said. So when it came time for me to choose a residency program or where to practice medicine for my career, I knew I needed to be in a hospital that did not do abortions, that I did not want to be judged by what else might be going on in that hospital. And I can tell you that the nurses that I worked with, the ultrasound techs, the lab techs, often those people choose a hospital based upon this issue and the ability to protect their conscience objection. I think one of the reasons nurses, doctors, ultrasound techs, lab techs pick a VA hospital is because they don't do abortions. I think it's that simple. I think it'll hurt the nursing staff that we have and all those support personnel if this rule from this administration goes through, that we should honor these folks' conscience objections, that they chose to work at a VA hospital knowing abortions weren't going to be done. We have to hold the line here. I think Coach Tuberville has great logic as far as the Hyde Amendment, that this would break the Hyde Amendment and break the law of the land as well. I think we should stand up for the law, and I'm proud to stand beside Coach Tuberville and Senator Manchin in this vote today. Thank you, everyone, for being here and supporting us on this issue.
Any questions?
With the VA extending this policy and overall the administration's approach to abortion, what do you think this says about our cultural trend, and also why is it important for you all to stand against the tide of that cultural trend?
Well, the biggest thing, it's illegal. You know, we're not talking about anything other than the proper process of going through, making their own law. As Senator Manchin said, bring it, let's vote on it, and make it pass. Don't legislate from the executive branch. And that looks like what we continue to do, especially from something like this. Obviously, y'all know I have a hold on flagship officers for the military. They're making their own policy. Let's do it the right way. Let's do it in this building, talk about it, discuss it, and do it the right way. We know the trends that are going right now, but the problem is trends don't change here. We have a Constitution, so we need to go by it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have two questions for you. First of all, the Hyde Amendment does have provisions for abortions for women who have a life-threatening pregnancy issue or the pregnancy as a result of rape or incest. Are you saying that you're against abortion in those cases?
Well, I'm pro-life, okay, but this is not really about the abortion as much as about the law and the process in which they're taking in the VA. Okay.
Second question. The law from 92 basically says that taxpayers are covered, breast examinations are covered, and just general reproductive health care. But infertility services and pregnancy care, except for very narrow exceptions, are not covered. So are you wanting to follow the letter of that law and not give pregnancy care to female service members? Or are you planning on introducing a further resolution to amend this to widen pregnancy care?
Well, the first thing you need to remember, the VA is not equipped to do abortions. I mean, we spend billions of dollars to help our veterans across the country. It would take a lot more money to prepare, to do abortions in all the VAs. Now, as you probably saw today in Bloomberg, I think they've done 34 already. And somebody's going to ask me that. I'm sure you are. Hey, one's too many. One breaks the law. Right now, the law is no abortions in the VA. If you want to pass a law, put it in Congress. Let's discuss it. Let's run it through committee, and let's see what happens.
What about prenatal care, though?
Prenatal care?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they already have prenatal care. If you look at it, it has nothing to do with prenatal care. And again, we've got, I think, 1 out of 5 in the military now that are women. It's growing every day, and this needs to be looked into in terms of more care. But we're going back and looking at the law. If you want to change it, let's do it the right way.
Can you confidently say that you're going to win this vote this afternoon, today? And secondly, on your holds of military promotions right now over the separate DoD abortion policy, have there been any updates, any progress toward a negotiated settlement with the administration on that?
No, obviously we've got a lot of fires burning right now, and so I think that's on the back burner. I haven't heard from anybody on the holds, but
you're holding firm on that.
yes, I'm holding firm on that. And the other question was?
Are you confident? Can you say confidently that you're going to win this?
No, you can't ever say anything confident up here in this building. I've done a lot of work on it. Senator Manchin, Senator Marshall, Senator Moran, we've done a lot of work on it. We've talked to people in our party, on our caucus, and talked to people on the other side. It's great to have Senator Manchin on our side because, again, it's about the letter of the law. I mean, we're breaking the law here. And we do not need to allow any administration to be able to change the law and start their own laws. Let's do it the right way.
Senator Tuberville, the U.S. Supreme Court is going to be making a decision possibly on the abortion court today. Can we get your reaction on which way that the justices should rule?
Well, it's been out there for 20 years, and you'd have to look at all the data on it over 20 years. I can't tell you whether it's good or bad, but there's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of discussion over the next few weeks, in our caucus and on the Democratic side, not just here in the Senate, but also in the House. This is going to end up being a huge topic of conversation, but it needs to go through the proper channels, which is going to the Supreme Court, it looks like now. Yes, ma'am.
Just to piggyback off that question on your hold, if it doesn't look like you'll win that vote today, obviously there is concern from military leaders about what these holds will end up accomplishing. How long are you willing to hold firm on that?
Well, and, as I've told them, let's do a vote on it. And they probably would win that vote. But don't legislate from the White House. Don't legislate from the Department of Defense, the Pentagon. It seemed like since Roe Wade, everybody's been trying to circumvent the law. And all I'm trying to say here is let's do it the right way. Let's do it the right way. Let's send it through Congress. We were elected to make the laws, not the Department of Defense, Secretary Austin. Let's just do it the right way, and probably at the end of the day, that's probably what's going to happen. And so that's what I want. I want to get a vote on the floor, and but we'll continue our hold to that point.
Is there any
justice issue when it comes to abortion? Maybe not specifically on this one, but in a broader sense.
Yeah, well, I think the compromise is what the Supreme Court did. It took the justice system out, it took Congress out, and it sent it back to the states. You know, the Democrats used it against us, obviously, in the election. Well, we're doing away with abortion. The Supreme Court did not do away with abortion. They sent it back to the states where you and I and everybody in every state could vote on whether they wanted abortion or not. And that's the way it should be. The federal government needs to get out of this position, and they need to send it back and let every state. And if you look at Kansas, which is pretty much a red state, they voted for abortion. And so you don't know how it's going to work, but let the people vote on their futures. Get it out of the bureaucrats and the politicians' hands up here that really know less about it than anybody, and let the people actually vote on what they believe in.
Maybe one more.
You spoke about the moral obligations of the nurses and doctors being overrun.
Mhm.
But also, do you feel like there's also the moral obligation of just everyday Americans that are also being exposed on because they have to pay taxes, right? So.
Yeah, everybody pays taxes, but the problem you have there is that you got the freedom to, the opportunity. This country offers you one thing: opportunity to be free, to make your own decisions, not to be told how to make a decision about your life. If you believe in one thing, you shouldn't be told to do something that you did not believe in. And there's going to be quite a bit of this if it continues to go on. Again, if you go back to what I said earlier, the VAs have never been equipped physically or personnel-wise to do abortions. And so now you're forcing people that were in the VA, maybe possibly because, hey, I can practice here, I can make people better, I can work with our veterans, but I don't have to do abortions. And all of a sudden it's moving into their purview, and they're going to have to do that. So there's a lot of hills to climb on this. I just hope today that we get a vote and people step up and vote for the people and not for politics. And that's what I've been fighting on this. You know, the politics is awful thick up here, as we all know. And I'm hoping that senators, when they go vote today, I guess it's somewhere around 5 o'clock, maybe even later than that we get a true vote of what their constituents feel and not just what they feel. So thank you for being here. Thank you very much.